Welcome to COTK Online. My name is Hannah Nell and I serve as the youth pastor here at Church of the King. Today, I want to invite you to get connected. If it's your first, second, 10th, or 100th time that you are watching COTK, I want to invite you to get connected in the spiritual family. You can do that by filling out the Connect card on our website or using the link down in the description box below. Today, I would also like to say thank you so much for your generosity, throwing your money into God's kingdom and trusting Him and see what He can do globally and locally. Today, you can give by texting the number available on the screen. You can also use our website or our app. Enjoy today's word.
Well, good morning, church fam. Pastor Kevin here. So glad to be able to join you guys for another week. I want to talk to you guys today about the Apostle Paul and what was going on. Paul wrote a letter to the church at Philippi, and Paul was upset about some things that was going on in the church. And today I want to talk to you from this subject. I want to talk to you from what's your confidence in? We're going to jump right in at Philippians chapter 3, verse 1. He says, "Furthermore, brothers and sisters, rejoice in the Lord. It is no trouble for me to write you the same things to you again, and it is a safeguard for you. Watch out for those dogs, those evildoers, those mutilators of the flesh. For it is we who are the circumcision, we who serve God by His Spirit, who boast in Christ Jesus, and who put no confidence in the flesh. Though I myself have reason for such confidence, if someone else thinks they have reason to put confidence in the flesh, I have more." I want to stop there and I want to talk to you a little bit. We're going to unpack this some, and then we'll read a few more scriptures. My business associate, one day we were looking at some jobs and stuff, and we're walking around and we're, putting numbers on things, and at the end of the thing, we had a list of numbers. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Let me get my calculator out and I'll add these numbers up. And he's like, oh, no, we don't need a calculator. We can add these up in our head real quick. He said, just read them off to me. And so I read him off and I'm like, okay, it's 1,000 here and it's 3,000 here and it's 4,000 there and it's $500 here and it's $600 there. And he's like, okay, so that's, 5 times 10 and carry the one and you do this. And he's like, okay, so the total of it is $63,342. And I'm like, oh, man, how do you do that? There's no way that you can add that up faster than I can on a calculator and be right and everything. It aggravates me so much, people that have those talents. And I'm like, I just can't believe that. And he's like, well, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I said it with enough confidence that you believed me. Got me to thinking, isn't that how it is these days? If we say something with enough confidence, people just believe it. It's got to be true if it's on the internet. Well, it's got to be true the way he said it. He was sure of himself. It's almost like we've all found this Bible verse that says, fake it till we make it, except it's not in the Bible. I remember when the movie Hitch came out, Hitch taught us all how to get girls. And it was, you don't need a nice car. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to even be good looking. All you need is confidence, because confidence looks much better. And I believe that's, kind of true, except there's a line between confident and creepy. But I believe in our Christian life, we need to find a middle ground between confidence and humility. I don't want to be so confident that I can't learn from others, but I don't want to be so humble that I'm apologizing for my very existence on this earth. And as Christians, I think we oftentimes swing the pendulum too far one way or too far the other. And it's like, woe is me, I'm so terrible and I'm such a wretch and everything. And then the other times we're swinging it too far the other way. And it's like, I'm good at all things and look at how good I am. And I believe we have confidence without the ability to do something successful. Like we do it one time and we do it well that one time. And because that's the first time and it's beginner's luck, we think that, oh, I have this now and I'm good at this and I can do it all. And I think we approach life sometimes like they were at the church in Philippians chapter 3. And Paul he calls them dogs. And at first, if you look at it, you would think that, well, Paul's probably talking to the people that are trying to pull the church into sin and away from God and stuff. That's who he's calling the dogs. Like, he's probably calling the drug dealers dogs, or he's probably calling the harlots of that time dogs. But if you really look at the scripture, the ones that he was calling dogs and evildoers and what they were doing, he even says, what you're doing is evil. It was actually the religious people. They were trying to get the newly converted Gentiles to be circumcised. Because at that time, that was the outward expression of, if you wanted to be a God follower, that's what you did outwardly to show that you were a God follower. But I like Paul's take on it because Paul knows that it's not the outward expression that shows whether you're a God follower. It's really the inward that proves that you're a God follower. It's kind of like, we think that we can impress God by what we do in our flesh. And the only thing that we can please God with is by faith. It's impossible to please God with our flesh. Like, look, God did not stop heaven because you read a Bible verse. He didn't call the angels over and say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about Kevin because he went 3 weeks in a row without telling somebody off. That didn't impress God one bit. The only thing that we can please God by is our faith, not by our actions and our works and what we do externally. And I like how Paul really, he calls them dogs. And he's like, what you're doing is evil. You're telling people you got to have these rules and regulations if you want to be accepted by God. If you want to be accepted by God, you got to do it like this and you got to do this. You got to be this. You got to show this on the outside. And really and truly, that's what religion does. Religion teaches you to put your confidence in the wrong thing. It's a perversion of the gospel. To think that we can do something outwardly, like I can quit this behavior, or I can add this habit in my life that's a good habit, and it's gonna, I can do that, or if I quit this, then this is what it's gonna take, is an actual perversion of the gospel. Because God says that there's nothing that we do, like on our best day is still filthy rags to Him. And sometimes I think what happens as a Christian, I know in my life, what happens as a Christian is our consistency becomes the enemy of our humility. We get the sense that, oh man, I haven't dropped the F-bomb in weeks. Like, I've got this thing, man. I have conquered this. And what happens is we get prideful and arrogant, and we begin to categorize people who haven't arrived at the same place as us yet. It's almost like confidence is our birthright. And Paul is writing to the people who are on the verge of putting their confidence in their performance and not in the gospel. And Paul is like, what you're doing is evil and you need to stop. Anytime that we put our confidence in what we do, it's a very dangerous place. And so in my life, I don't want to be overconfident, but then again, I don't want to be underconfident. And I don't think that Paul is making a plea for the amount of confidence at all. I really believe that it's not so much how much you have or how little you have, but more where you have it. Like, we live in a culture that projects confidence at all cost. And if we project confidence at all cost, even though it's false confidence, like, we're really projecting ignorance. So like my youngest son, he's 7 years old. We call him JoJo. His name is Joa. And him and my oldest son is 14. And they got in an argument the other day. My 14-year-old is looking at my 7-year-old and he's like, Joa, stop acting like you're faster than me. You're not faster than me. And my youngest son goes, oh, well, I'm faster than dad. And I'm like, okay, son, no, that's where I'm going to have to stop you right there. Like, we have left the realm of reality. And he said it with so much confidence. But no matter how much confidence he said it with, it was still ignorance. That's how I think we get sometimes. And I believe that like we get to a place where it's really dangerous that we have too much confidence in the wrong place. I don't believe confidence is wrong because the Bible says in Psalms 27:3, it says, though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. But the question is, in what will I be confident in? So I find myself, personally, I don't know about you, but I find myself going between being so confident sometimes that God has to humble me down. God has to bring something in my life that will take me off the pedestal that I've put myself on and show me just how much I need Him. I go from having too much confidence to not having enough confidence that sometimes I'm like, man, I don't even deserve to be up on the stage preaching the gospel today. And God challenged me with, it's not how much you've got either way, but it's where you put it. So my question for you guys today is just, where have you put your confidence in? And look, I know I get it. Like the Christian answer is, oh, well, my confidence is in God. Just take a second. Like, is it really? Is it all the time? Full transparency. As a pastor, there are some times that I'm like, yeah, my confidence is in God. He's going to do something great. And then sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? What do I need to do to make this payment, to do this thing, whatever it is? What am I going to? And my confidence is in me more. Sometimes I find that I put my confidence in my ability to be disciplined. Now, I've heard people, growing up, I grew up in church all the time, and I've seen people come and go in church, and I've questioned people sometimes, and I'm like, so what happened? They're like, oh man, I gave up on God. Why? Well, I was in that, and then this person hurt me, and those people let me down. Can I say something? Your relationship with God is too precious and too important to put it in the hands of people. I love how Job says, though he slay me, yet I will follow. Though people mess with me, though people let me down, I will still follow God. My confidence is not in them. My confidence is in God. So I love Paul, and Paul goes like this. He's like, all right, y'all want to play who's better than who? Y'all want to play the game of who's whose? Let's do it. Let's play that. And so he goes in verse 5, he's like, circumcised on the 8th day. Paul's like, I was done on the 8th day like you're supposed to be. Of the people of Israel. Paul's like, not only was it done on the right day, but I was born into the right people. Of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews. He's like, not only do I have the right connections, but I'm also competent. I come from the tribe of Benjamin, not just from the people of Israel, but I'm born into the tribe that the kings are born into. He says, in regard to the law, I was a Pharisee. I held up to the strictest order of law at the time. I had the best teachers. So if you dogs think that you're better than people, then why don't you come compare yourself to me? He says, as for zeal, persecuting the church, as for righteousness based on the law, I was faultless. So Paul's basically in these passages, he's saying I was connected, I was competent, and as far as my character, according to human law, according to what you can see and judge, I was faultless. And here's what happened to Paul. I believe Paul had an experience that we all end up having it at some point in our life. And if you haven't had it yet, then that experience is coming. Because I know it happened in my life, and I know others that it happened in. Paul says, I was on a road to Damascus, and I prided myself that I was connected, and that I was competent, and that I was flawless. I think this part happens in our life when we get full of ourselves. When we begin to start trusting in ourselves the way Paul did, I believe this is when this experience happens. And here's what we do. Like, you know how it is with people. Like we start categorizing and we're like, okay, so these are the people that are going to go to heaven and these are the type of people that are going to go to hell. And the way that I know that is the people that go to heaven, there's certain things that they do and certain things that they don't do. And people that go to hell, there's certain things that they do and certain things that they don't do. The only problem I find with that is this is based on external observations. And God tells us nobody can know the heart but Him. So Paul's on the road to Damascus. He's got his letters of authority with him. He's going to persecute Christians for the cause. He's confident in all of his teaching, all of his flesh, and all of his flawlessness. And it says a blinding light throws him off of his high horse, like literally throws him off his horse. And a voice comes and says, Saul, Saul, who do you think you are? And he says, I don't know. Who are you? And the voice says, I am Jesus. And Paul spent 3 days blind. This is what I often find in my personal life. Like when I get so high and mighty and I begin to look down on people, it never fails when I'm trusting in myself. God brings something that happens that I wasn't expected, that I haven't read a book about, that I haven't had a confrontation on or anything. And what winds up happening is where I'm leading people, all of a sudden now I'm looking around for who can lead me. And God gets me out of the place of pride to where all I can do is say, is there anybody that can help? I'm willing to follow. God will often knock you off your high horse when we get to thinking that we are more than we are. Paul said this. Paul said, I had to actually start over. Like I had to let go of all of my pride. I had to humble myself down and I had to learn how to follow Jesus. Because when I compared myself to others, like I was good. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know how we do. We're looking on Facebook or on the gram or something, and it's like, she thinks that looks good on her? Oh, I know they can't afford to be on vacation. Like when we get overconfident in ourselves, we begin to look at others and we compare ourselves to others, and we look really good when we compare ourselves to others. Like we'll look at people whose kids are on drugs and we're like, well, my kids would never. And I've learned something. When you begin to look at other people and feel good about yourself, and you begin to say things like, well, I would never, or my family would never, or my kids will never, dangerous territory. Because God has a way to use life to knock us off our high horse, to get us to a point where we say, God, I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of false standards. I'm sick of worldly measurements. And he brings us to a place where we're like Paul in verse 7, and we say, when I've compared myself to Jesus, there's nothing good in me. Paul says this, he says, but whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. He says, I lost all my confidence in myself, but I gained my confidence in a different place. Not in the fact that I could change my behavior. Not in the fact that I know all the answers. Not in the fact that I'm trying to look confident on the outside, but on the inside I'm falling apart. And today I wonder, where is your confidence at? Is it in your ability to fake it on the outside while the whole time you're torn apart on the inside and living a lie? Is your confidence in Christ and His ability? Here's what I find in my life. In James, he says, confess your faults to one another so that you may be healed. We confess our stuff to God so that me and God are in good standing with each other and the communication and the intimacy is there. But to be healed, he says, talk to one another. When we have so much confidence in ourselves and we have so much pride in ourselves and we take our confidence out of God and we put it in ourselves, here's what happens. The enemy begins to trick you into thinking that you're better than you are and you're okay. And we don't need to talk to one another because, to be honest with you, you're really beneath me. Like you did something the other day that I would never do that. And so I don't need to go to you and tell you about things that's in my life and I'm good. In all reality, if we put that all aside and we humble ourselves down and we go to one another and we say, hey, look, this is what's going on in my life. How can you help me? Can you pray with me? Can you watch over me? Can you hold me accountable? And if you'll do that for me, I will help you with this area. That is being a God follower. That is putting our confidence in what God done. Because at the end of the day, I can't live a perfect life. And God knew that. That's why He sent His Son. Jesus said, I will go and live the perfect life so they don't have to. Look, I'm going to tell you, man, living that life of perfection and I got to be perfect all the time, that is so tiring. I got so much freedom the day that I realized Jesus lived the perfect life, so I don't have to. Now, that's not the license and card to be able to go out and say, well, I'm just going to live like hell and go to heaven when I die. But I don't strive to live a perfect life because I have to. Because that's what's going to get me to heaven. It's not what Jesus did on the cross, plus if I can live this good life. It's what Jesus did on the cross, so I don't have to live that good life. But I want to live that life. Because of what He did on the cross, because my confidence is in Him, I want to draw closer to Him and I want to live a better life and I want to change and I want to do things different in my life. So at the beginning of it, I asked you a question. What is your confidence in? And everybody answers that. I guess because I'm a pastor, everybody just looks and says, my confidence is in God. Well, I'm calling baloney. Because I know in my life, sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's in my ability to be consistent. I look good on the outside, but inside, I'm falling apart. Jesus even tells the Pharisees, He's like, you're like whitewashed tombs. You look good on the outside, but on the inside, you're full of dead man's bones. I want to be at the point where I don't just look strong on the outside, but I'm falling apart on the inside. I want to be to the point where what is on the inside is reflected on the outside. And if that's me falling apart, then I'm going to trust that as Christians, they're going to come around me and they're going to help me and they're going to uplift me and they're going to hold me accountable. But I want to put my confidence in what God is doing in my life. And I don't want to fake it anymore. I had a friend of mine that came up to me, it's been a while back. And he said, I know it looks like I have it all together. And I know I fooled you. But he said, really and truly, I'm dying on the inside. And I need help because I don't want to live this way any longer. And it blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I thought this person had it all together. But when he got transparent and he got honest and he revealed, this is what I struggle with, that's when I was like, look, I don't know that I can help you with this, but I know people that can. And I got them connected with other people. And I'm like, the transformation that happened in their life, the happiness, the fact that their family was put back together, and the things that happened between them and other believers and the relationships that took place, I looked at it from a distance and I'm like, this is what it means to be a part of a church and a family and a body of believers. So during this message, when I was putting it together, I had to look at my own life and I'm like, really and truly, what is my confidence in? And sometimes I do a really good job of portraying something that's not going on the inside. On the inside, I'm broken. On the outside, I'm strong. And I had to go to God and say, God, I'm sorry of portraying a false confidence. So I don't know what it is for you. Maybe for you, you're strong on the outside, but your marriage may be falling apart. Maybe for you, you've been putting up a good front, but your kids are going wayward and it's tearing you apart. I don't know. But I do know this. We want to meet you where you are. And we would love to be able to come alongside and help you walk through whatever you're walking through, help you walk out whatever you're wanting to walk out or needing to walk out or going through to walk out. My encouragement for you, if you're watching this online and maybe you live too far to be connected to the church, on a Sunday to Sunday basis or something, but you're going through something right now, you're struggling with something right now, you have confidence and you're putting your confidence in yourself or whatever it may be, or maybe you're projecting strength, but inside you're broken and everything. Here's what we would like to do. We would love for you to drop a comment. Just a simple pray for me. We have people that are wanting to pray for you. Reach out to us. And let us know, because we want to meet you where you are to help you get further down the road in your journey. We don't believe that everybody's perfect. And we want to help those that are willing to say, I need to put my confidence in God. I put it in people and it didn't go good. I put it in myself, it didn't go good. But I need help. And if that's you, I'm going to pray for you today. Drop us a comment. Let us partner with you. Let us help you. Father, I pray today for everybody that's listening, Lord, that we do a true evaluation of ourselves. Where is my confidence? Is it in me? Is it in my ability? Is it in my consistency? Or is it in you ultimately? And Father, if we're projecting something on the outside that's not what's going on the inside, Lord, I pray that we will be able to help one another that we can come alongside, that we can meet people where they are in their journey, that we can be the hands and feet of you, Lord, for the world, that we can encourage, that we can hold accountable, that we can uplift, that we can lead. Father, I thank you for the things that you've brought me through, because you can't lead where you've never been, Father, and the things that you've brought me through and others through, Lord, that will be able to turn around and help other people get through things that they're going through. Father, I pray for the people and the community of believers, Lord, that we just become open and transparent and humbled, to be like Paul and say, I lost all my confidence in myself, but I gained it in you. And I had to learn how to follow Jesus all over again. We ask this in your name. Amen.